I am so excited about our guest today. I have admired Danielle from afar for a long time, and this morning is the first time we really met. And as the three of us are talking, I think we should start another podcast about being in an RV or doing MLM on the go. So I'm going to read you Danielle's bio, which is amazing. Dr. Danielle Daniel is a doctor of psychology and licensed clinical social worker from San Diego, California. She is the founder of the Holistic Brain, Inc., providing natural alternatives for brain and mental health, and speaks globally to empower others. She is also the founder of the Brave Foundation, serving kids and young adults who have been sex trafficked and abused. She's a surfer, loves the beach and flip-flops. She is the poster child for being a flip-flop CEO, by the way. So when it came to creating a career that would allow her freedom of her time to enjoy the outdoors and make a bigger impact in the mental health field, network marketing provided that solution. Danielle spent many years in the mental health field, working with adolescents treating trauma and suicide ideation. She started building a network marketing business on the side of her full-time job, which allowed her to retire herself by the age of 38. Now she spends her time making a difference globally by sharing her expertise in the mental health field and empowering others to create the life of their dreams. Yay! You are so amazing, Danielle. I'm so happy that we have you here today. I'd like you to start out, if you could, just tell us how you got into this crazy business. How did you discover network marketing, or how did it find you?
Yeah, it definitely found me. And thanks to you guys, Laura and Janine, for having me on. I have admired the work you guys do. I just met Laura, but the Flip Flop CEO, I've had this book for years. It spoke to me so much because, again, I love my beach. I love my flip flops, and just having a lifestyle where I could go surf when I want. I can go surf where I want, not just down at my beach, but anywhere in the world. And having that lifestyle really spoke to me. And so as far as like finding a network marketing career, never was on my radar. I'm sure many of you who are probably listening to this have never thought you would do network marketing. I didn't even really know much about it. I was in the mental health field. I was an employee. I loved my job. I loved working with teens. I still love working with teens. And we'll kind of go into that story of what network marketing career has allowed me to do in my mental health career. So for me, the disconnect, so what happened was my best friend, who also loves the Flip Flop CEO and has been featured in your book, Kirsten Kirschbaum, she, her and I lived here, went to San Diego State together. And then she found doTERRA and the essential oils. And she decided to say, to tell me more about it. And I just was like, no, I'm not really interested, you know? And she says, but I'm really looking for business partners. And I just says, I'm not interested. I couldn't make the connection between the mental health field and a network marketing career. I didn't understand. I just thought they were two separate things. And so, yeah, that's how it found me, as my best friend introduced me. But I don't know if you want me to go on with my story here, but what happened was my brother-in-law also has a network marketing career. And I had known that him and his entire family have been involved. And I always saw the lifestyle that they had. My brother-in-law and my sister, they were able to take the kids travel around the world for a year. They've just been able to have freedom. And one time we're on a family vacation and I'm sitting at the pool with my sister and my brother-in-law, and he gets a phone call. He takes the phone call to the side of the pool. And again, I'm not just at any pool. I'm at this private resort that his father had built from network marketing money. Like this resort it's his own resort, but it's got like 4 swimming pools, a pirate ship in the middle of it with this water slide. It's just incredible. Wow. So we're at this, place that was also built because of having this network marketing money. And I see my brother-in-law take a phone call. And all it was I made this connection between, he is at the pool doing a little bit of business real quick and then came and sat back down. And I was like, I want that. Like I finally got it. And the first thought that came to me that I think is really important to share with people is first thought was, I said to myself, this subconscious thought came up that said, wow, he's so lucky. And then I thought, well, wait a second. I had thought creating the income, the finances, and the lifestyle was about luck. And I immediately was aware enough to say, that's not, anybody can do that. I can do that. And my best friend had already introduced me to network marketing, and I had already started using the products that I had within my practice. And so I made the connection finally, like, oh, well, this product can serve mental health, but also I can create network marketing with it. And so I got on the phone with her. I was like, I'm ready. Let's do this. So that's kind of a beginning stage of my story.
That is so wonderful. I love that. I love that. So what would you say your opinion was? I mean, did you have an opinion about network marketing before you put the pieces together?
You know, I wouldn't say I had an educated opinion for sure. I had an undertone of a thought about it. And that was when Kirsten started doing it. I thought, why is she doing something so frivolous? I thought she was smarter than that. Like I knew she was smarter. And so I thought, that's weird. Like, why would she get involved with something so dumb? That was my subconscious underlying thought, but I didn't express that. I just remember thinking, like, that's weird. That was it. But I didn't have any, but yet my brother-in-law, his entire, his parents, all of his siblings got involved and with a network marketing company and had so much success. So I don't know why I didn't equate the two at the time.
Yeah, so. And that's exactly the purpose of what we're doing here, is to really elevate this model and this industry as being valid and worthy. And I love that you talked about how you observed him doing business, fitting business in around his life. But your first thought that came to you was, wow, he's really lucky to be able to do that. Mm-hmm. And you were self-aware enough to be able to put the pieces together and say, well, is it luck or is it just a choice? Is it just a decision, and a decision that he makes over and over and over again that gives him that ability? Where I think a lot of people, and we'll unpack this a little bit more, but I think a lot of people just stop there. They just stop there of, that's good for you, or that's good for this person, or that's good for that person, but that's not me. And that's I'm not that lucky, or I'm not that worthy, or I'm not a salesperson, or all the things that people feel like that they're not. So what appealed most to you, I know, is the flexibility you observed in him, but talk a little bit more about that, because you were not planning and you're not giving up your heart's work, your mission work of the healthcare practice, the mental health care practice that you have. But you were beginning to see how it fit together, right? So talk a little bit more about how that worked out.
Yeah, thanks for saying that, because that was a big thing for me, is like I had, built a career, a master's degree, and I was in a doctorate degree for psychology at the time. And I wasn't just going to say, oh, well, I'm just going to go be a salesperson. So I had this disconnect of what that really meant. And, seeing, my brother-in-law and the lifestyle, the thing I didn't tell you was when I was on vacation with them, it was May. I had taken my last bit of vacation at my job to be there. And I was like, what am I going to do the rest of the year? Like, I was stressed, and I received a 2% raise. I was I was like 35 at this time. I was getting at the top of my pay grade. And so for the rest of my life, I'd be getting a 2% raise, which isn't that much, but grateful for it. But I was at the top of my pay grade at 35. I had built this entire mental health program in our inner city school here in San Diego. And I was like using the rest of my vacation. I'm like, well, now what? So what really stuck for me, and, try to answer your question as clear as possible, but I had more desires I wanted to do in the mental health career. I wasn't just like, oh, ready to abandon it. But I didn't want to be stuck to a job. I was 35. I mean, this is 35 more years. And what I do with children with stress and trauma and suicidal intervention on a daily basis, I loved it, but it's a lot. Like, I'm like, how am I going to do this for 35 years? And if I don't, what am I going to go do to admin work, you know? So I had this desire within my career to publish, to do training courses, to do humanitarian work, and to do things on a bigger and more global scale that would allow me to get out of my small office with no windows and do more with my talents versus just stay in as an employee until, you know, for 35 more years. And so that was one piece of it. Just like I had this inner desire, and that's why I was actually going back to school for my doctorate. It would give me a little bit more money, and I thought maybe it would give me more things, you know, that I could do in those realms. So when I found, you know, network marketing, or it found me, thank goodness, or I was aware enough to latch onto it, I realized that I wasn't going to give up working with people with emotional well-being, but I realized there are so many other aspects and products that can help people with emotional well-being. And so I partnered with a company that had something that I was passionate about, that I was using within my clinical practice already, that I was seeing my teenagers going like, ooh, I like that stuff, you know? And so I realized that I can serve people with something natural, which was, you know, really my mama hippie roots that my mom brought me up with, you know? And so I finally got it. I was like, I can still work on a global scale in a natural way and help people in the mental health field get better emotional wellness. And so that's kind of how that started. And I just started working on, you know, building on the side of my full-time job, my income and my business.
Yay. So what is the most frustrating thing to you about this business?
The most frustrating would probably be yourself, like your own self, not you, your own self, because you really, I mean, as a therapist and now, you know, my career in network marketing allowed me to pay for my doctorate schooling up front, go back to school, finish my doctorate, publish courses, and do all of these things, right? And within that, like as a therapist, you think, oh yeah, I kind of know a lot about the brain and behavior. You get into a business as a, you know, into sales where you're serving people, and it's a whole different thing than being an employee. You realize there's a lot of personal growth that you had no idea about. So I would say the most frustrating thing is just learning about yourself, loving yourself, giving up ideas that you, false ideas, maybe false beliefs that you've had around, maybe money, your own limitations, and just realizing that anything is possible. And so I would say that's probably the most frustrating thing, is dealing with and taking full responsibility for all of the emotions and relationships and what you project onto those when you start working in network marketing. And it's very freeing and empowering, but it's also a lot of work.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. Oh my gosh. It's like, you know, we tell people there's 4 different areas of belief that you have to have: the products, the company, the profession, and yourself. And it's the self part that always gets in the way. So what is the most common objection or concern that you have to deal with when you're talking to people about this profession?
The most common objection. And so
maybe you don't have any objections. Does everybody just think it's
oh, definitely. I would say the thing I think people, here's what it is: busy. And I've learned a lot as I've grown personally just because of this career. I mean, here's what I say to people: if you like personal development, this is the career for you. If you do not enjoy personal development, you're not going to thrive. And what I would say is busy. People, and we use this word, oh, I'm just so busy, I'm so busy. It's such a negative word, but it really doesn't mean anything, you know? And so I say the biggest block people have is that they're in this mode of I'm busy, I'm busy, I'm busy, and I wouldn't be able to do it. And so the first thing, you know, to just even address that is busy is just a state of mind versus really a situation. And the second part of that is this business builds within your life. So what I did to really build my business is I worked full time and I was in a doctorate program. So I took 2 hours out of my day where I sat down and I shut my doors and I was just like, I am working on my business. And the rest of the day I was working. 2 hours really isn't enough. However, network marketing builds into everything you do. I would go up at the school I worked at. I still remember I'm in where we get our mail out of the mailboxes, during my lunch break, and I'm just grabbing my mail. And one of the guys there says, he's older gentleman who had some health issues. And he just said, oh, what are you wearing? That smells really good. And I told him about my product, and he was like, oh my gosh, tell me more about it. And so I was telling him, and he's like, would it help me with this? Would it help me with this? And I'm like, yes, yes, yes. So he goes and grabs his laptop and orders right there in front of me. He's like, okay, I'm going to get all this. And I'm like, all right. So it builds if you're willing to talk about your passion. I mean, I'm on the phone with my best friend. That's not part of my 2 hours. And we get her started because of things she's dealing with. So anyway, that would be the objection I get the most is busy. And it's a false idea.
Yep.
Yes, yes. That is a very common one. And you're right. It's a false idea. It's usually like a filter for something else. There's something else behind it that is always important to ask more questions to understand about. Why is it that you think more people are not successful in this business? I'm sure you've seen that. I'm sure that not everybody that you've introduced has been successful. Everybody can be, but what are some of the common reasons that you see that people are not successful?
I would say two things come to my mind. One is maybe it's just not their path and not their journey. They have other things to do in their life. I have a cat trying to climb on me now. And the other thing I would say is the belief. It really all comes down to belief. Belief in yourself, like you guys said, belief in the company, belief in the product that you are, because if you have passion for something, it doesn't feel forced. It doesn't feel difficult. Do I have to remind myself of my passion? Yeah, but it's there and it doesn't feel like I'm going against the grain. So I would say belief in yourself is probably the number one key, because if you have passion for a product and for a company and the idea of what network marketing can do, meaning freedom of your life and finances, which who doesn't want that in the first place? But if you have belief that it is something you can have, that's the key. Do you believe that you deserve that? Do you believe that you are loved enough to create this and that you're capable, or you'll be shown how to be capable? So that's what I would say. It comes down to belief, and working on that belief is all it is.
Yes, that is so very true. And I love how you spoke to this is a personal development plan. And for people that's their thing, they enjoy that, they see themselves as continuing to evolve, it fits really well with that, no matter what they accomplish or achieve. But if someone is really not comfortable with learning more about themselves and growing, then it may not. And I loved what you talked about, and I want to ask about how your life is different than it was before your business.
Yeah.
I love how you spoke to, and I just want to call it out specifically, you recognized at what I consider to be a fairly young age that there was a glass ceiling in terms of your earning potential, but there was also a ceiling in terms of the breadth of your scope of influence and how you could make the world a better place. And I believe you too recognized, like you talked about, you took your last vacation day in May and had the whole rest of the year with no opportunity to take any time off that was paid for. So you also recognize that even being a successful, accomplished, in the process of getting your doctorate, having a mental health care practice, even those kinds of like self-owned or contributed businesses require a lot of you showing up for. And that if you don't show up, then the money's not there. So I love the way that you've already woven together that combining that passion with this passion that you found through a product that you loved in network marketing gave you some of those things. So talk more about, what does your life look like today? So we know sort of what it was like before, but give us some description of, if we were to step into your world today, what does that look like? What does that feel like?
Okay. Well, I guess before I go into today, coming back to, kind of what you brought up is, I had all these desires to do more, and what it allowed me to do is, so by the age of 38, I was able to retire myself from my full-time job, and I went full-time in my business. And so from that full-time, I replaced my income within a couple years, which was really good. I ended up I still was enrolled in my doctorate program. I put it on the side for just a minute so that I could focus on this career. And once I was able to quit my job, which felt amazing, that next year spent hustling in my business more than full time. Let's just admit it. I mean, it was like 80 hours a week, I'd say. No, maybe like 60, but it was a lot, but it was more fun stuff. Like I was traveling to New York and hanging out and doing classes in a cafe about the product. It was awesome. So it's like working 60 hours in your own business isn't like normal. It's fun with a whole bunch of fun women that I just got to meet and go to yoga studios, all that kind of stuff. So point being, I spent that next year doubling and then tripling my income. And so that allowed me to, at that point, I went back to finish my doctorate, because they were like, hey, you need to do more, or we're gonna have to disenroll you. And I'm like, okay. So I finished my doctorate. I also was able to go on humanitarian trips and serve people. We were able to go on one to Nepal, and I was able to teach the teenagers there about sex trafficking practices, how they ensnare families. Mm-hmm. And that was such a amazing thing to do preventative work. And then I was able to publish a book from my doctorate, as well as publish courses in the mental health field that I've always wanted to do. So it allowed me just this platform to do whatever I wanted. So to today, I now, debt free. I get to live and work where I want, which is just a phenomenal and beautiful, thing to do. I still build my business, but it fits into my lifestyle, which I love. So I would say my life today, I'm trying to think, I had something I was going to say. One thing I love, and so for those people in careers that, where you got a lot of training and you serve people, I get to do pro bono work now for therapy. I don't have to do therapy and get paid and have to have a clinic, and I could, but I don't want to. I like to have the freedom of my time to travel. And so I do pro bono work for kids that have been sex trafficked and abused. And so I love that piece, that I get to just take however many clients I want at a time and just show up to serve them because I can and want to, and not just because I get paid, but these are a population that have difficulty paying and getting services for free. So it's so nice that I get the income that I can just do that for them.
I love that you're talking about all this. I think it circles back to the time thing. When people think they don't have enough time, I think sometimes it's because people don't understand what doing this business looks like. And you're addressing some of those things that, you get to travel to New York and be in a little cafe or a yoga studio while you're doing your work. And so it is such a different situation when you're doing it because you want to, instead of, clocking in and clocking out, kind of. So what advice would you give to somebody that is trying to understand this business, maybe trying to decide if this could be for them, thinking about it?
Yeah. The first thing I would say is get clear. Is it for you? I do that by prayer, meditation, just get clear. And if it is, go all in. Somebody said to me when I was in the beginning stages, they said, the time's going to pass anyway, so you might as well do it. So, and during my first couple years, I would say it seemed to be where you'd see the slowest growth, where you're just like, is this really working? Am I just spinning my wheels? And sometimes I thought about quitting. And when I thought about quitting, the thought that came to me was, well, then I would just be in the same boat in 5 years that I am now. So why would I quit? And so that's what kept me going, because there was a few times I was like, gosh, I don't know. And then I just thought, I'm going to be in the same boat. If I don't see this through, if I don't give my all, if I don't create and sacrifice now whatever time I have extra to build this, then I won't have any freedom of my time in the future. And if I can share something, you know, personal here, how grateful I am that I did build this. And I did spend several years, you know, sacrificing a lot of my time and other fun little frivolous things that I would do. I was like, I've got to spend the time on my business. And about 3 years ago, I ended up having a cancerous tumor growing on my right ovary that sent me, and it was a really fast sarcoma cancer, which grows really quickly. And so I had to get into the hospital pretty immediately for have it surgically removed. And they had to, you know, for not being too detailed, it was so big, the size of a small football. They had to open me very carefully and up all the way up my abdomen versus just going in laparoscopically. And so that set me for over a month, about 2 months, where it took me a month till I could finally, you know, walk to my car and without getting too dizzy and violent, because I lost so much weight from all of it. It was a really difficult recovery from the surgery, but I'm healthy and great now, just so everybody knows. And so I'm very grateful. But here's what happened. That was the month of October and November that I was like totally out, wasn't able to build any type of my business, wasn't able to do any work. And my income, because I had built what I had, it was actually larger the month of October and November than it was even in September. And I was in the hospital. Like, it allowed me that it didn't matter because I had a residual. I had something there that I could take 2 months, 3 months, whatever I needed off, including I took off a couple years to finish my doctorate because I had a consistent income coming in. And had I been in a job, I mean, I would have lost time without pay. I don't know how I would have paid my mortgage and all of these other, you know, things, but I was able to. And I think that we can't afford not to show up in this business. You don't know I had no clue when I started this business that something like that was going to happen to me. And we have no clue what's going to happen. And kind of going on the same note, my mom was a massage therapist for many years, and it ended up really crippling her hands. Like, she can barely use them now and had to have surgeries. And so when you have a job that depends upon your hands, I mean, she's out of work. And so that's why, if you think about this is a long-term nest egg. This is your retirement. This is building. It's a necessity. What are you going to do if you can't count upon just showing up and getting paid, I guess is the question I would ask.
I'm so glad you brought all of those things up. I think that's why it is my passion for people to understand this business. I mean, it's so much deeper than people realize. And all the things you just said are things that most people don't even understand about it. So I'm glad you brought that up. So our closing question is, what do you think is the most important factor or trait that makes somebody actually become successful in this business?
Hope. That was the first word that came to my mind. Hope, I think. And so if we look in psychology, a hope-based brain, they have found in research, actually protects you from stress and anxiety. And fear. So we've got two different types of brain thinking, right? There's fear-based, which is all of your negative and like what ifs, and limited thinking would be a fear-based, lack. And then hope-based, and that, thank you for asking this, because that just kind of ties back into my my story that I was telling you with the hospital and having the tumor removed. So hope is critical. Like, if we don't have some way to help in something, and hope isn't having an expectation, by this year I'm going to be this. It's hope is, hey, I know it's going to work out. I'm going to figure it out. I'm going to be resourceful. And what I didn't share about the hospital thing is, so I was 40 at the time, and it ended up having to remove my ability to have children in that. And I still had hoped that I could have children at the time, and it was devastating. And so I went into a pretty despair, which I think was part of the recovery taking so long, because I was so distraught about, now I can't have children. And I had just always wanted to be a mother. And after, you know, a month or so of just feeling like, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to hope anymore. I can't have children. So how can I? And it just finally occurred to me that hope isn't about hoping for it in a certain context or certain form. And hope is, I still have hope. And all of a sudden I was like, I don't have to lose hope that I can be a mother. I just realized that just because that surgery happened, I have hope that someday, some way, somehow I'll be able to be a mother, and I don't have to control the form of it. And so if you're looking for how this business or, you know, what to do, I would just say, keep hope somehow, some way. Someday you'll find the business partners, you'll find the way, you'll figure out the resources, you'll figure out the personal development, instead of like, oh, I've got so much limited thinking. That's fear-based. So I would say hope. Hey, I'm working on my limited thinking. Great. Just staying hopeful.
Yay. I love that. I wish
How
we could.
delightful. Yes.
Yeah, I wish we could just talk to you all day. I think we should start another podcast. The three of us could just travel around in RVs and just, I don't know, show people how cool it is.
Right.
As I see an Airstream going by you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, sometimes we should maybe record the pre-calls too, because we just had the greatest conversation about the flexibility of traveling, and we each have 3 different types of RVs to be able to get up and go and be where we want to be when we want to be there. And what's great is technology these days, and with the flexibility of our businesses, we have the flexibility to be able to do that, to work from wherever we are. So yes, I am pretty sure that there's going to be more for us to share about our RV journeys, or even just catching up with you on what's going on in your life and what's going on with the impact that you're having. So we just so greatly appreciate your time today. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you guys. This has been so much fun. It's amazing when you get powerhouse women together and to talk about something that can help so many other, you know, women and men, but families in this type of a field. And it just, there's an energy and there's a power there. And I'm just grateful for you guys for just really helping people break these barriers and these mindsets that about network marketing, because I cannot, it is the most brilliant business model. And my friend who's brilliant in business, she was right. And she was smart, not dumb as I had like, a what? She's brilliant. And now she's created this lifestyle as well for her and 5 kids. And it's just, it's amazing. So thank you for you guys for sharing and just really helping people break through them from those subconscious thoughts that we're all learning to break through from.
Well, thank you for helping us. Today was great. So thanks so much, Danielle.